All right. Over here. Okay, charitable gifts of real estate. Let's make some money while we're making a difference. This has been the secret niche that funds nonprofits by the billions, but congratulations, you are here to learn how it works. So there's a couple of different ways to participate in this class. And so we want to be really clear about what it means to be certified as a charitable real estate specialist. We know that some of you are here because you were invited and you're just sitting in to learn about it. Some of you've actually already made the investment to become certified. So the initial requirements to be certified are that you take this class currently live with us. We are putting together a quiz that you will take and pass with a 80% to pass that quiz, and you'll pay the fee for $200 to get certified. So if you're here as a guest and you think, oh boy, I sure would like to get certified, and or if you'd like to continue taking the class as many times as you want, just like anything else, when we hear it more and more and more, it really starts to sink in. So as a class participant who's made that investment, you can bring 2 guests to every class too, just like how you were invited. The annual requirements when you do decide to get certified are that you take the class at least once every 12 months, that you pass the quiz again, because we're always going to be updating and adding more information, and there will be a renewal fee of $100. Now, if you are here today, you are being grandfathered into this system. Over time, the investment will go up, the requirements will be different, but for right now, you are grandfathered into what we're doing this way. So the master designation is when you complete a donation transaction with Realty Gift Fund every year. In other words, the gentleman that just popped on, Bruce, is our specialized nonprofit you'll be hearing about in just a few minutes. And when you do a deal with them every year, we will make you a master certified charitable real estate specialist. And for those of you who are wondering, well, what are the benefits of that? You know, there are so many designations for real estate agents, and this isn't just for real estate agents. Over the next 12 months, the certification will be for nonprofits. It will be for financial service providers. It will be for any and everyone who wants to become a part of this nationwide movement, and having these letters as designation behind your name is going to pull a lot of clout. We have something called office hours. So every Wednesday, and I'll be putting all this in the chat as we're going along today, every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, Realty Gift Fund, the first, second, third Wednesday, of the month, they do what is called office hours. So tomorrow, 1 o'clock, for 1 hour, you can come in and ask Bruce and myself and others from Realty Gift Fund exactly any questions that you want about these transactions. Does this property qualify? How do I talk to this person about it? So that's part of being in the certification class. You'll be listed on a website. We are still putting together all the technology behind everything, but eventually we're going to have a map that shows where the certified people are, the certified real estate agents, the certified nonprofits, etc. And you'll be on that map and on that website. As I mentioned earlier, as a certification participant, you get 2 VIP tickets to bring people to this class. And the reason that we're doing that, my friends, is because this is a new concept. It's been around for 100 years. We didn't invent it. 8 billion a year is already being donated, but it's a new concept to wrap our head around. And we want all of our charitable real estate specialists to have partners, the nonprofits they play with, the mortgage people, the title companies, the local businesses, etc. So we want to give you an opportunity to bring 2 people a month that you really believe would benefit from this, because we're also going to talk in a little bit about how I help you with doing cause marketing campaigns. How do you actually leverage this so that as a for-profit, you can double profitability, and as a nonprofit, you can bring in 6 times your normal endowments per year by bringing in non-cash assets. You're going to learn about how to do that today. And also, they, Realty Gift Fund and I have decided to be very generous. You'll get a $1,000 bonus on your first deal to both cover the $200 to be in the class and cover your participation to be in our group program where we train you how to do this. So suffice it to say, we've really removed all the risk for you, and you will be reimbursed. So you literally can take the class for free. So I'm going to go through what the different sections are so that you know what we're going to be talking about. So in section 1, concepts, collaborators, what are we really doing here? Who is Realty Gift Fund? Who are the real agents of change? What does all of this look like, and why would you want to be partnered with us?
Hey, Cammie.
Yes?
Can I interrupt you? Does everybody see the shared screen? You're sharing your screen right now?
Yes.
I do not.
Oh, okay. My apologies. My apologies. 1 second. Thank you for that.
I know what Cammie is saying, and I've followed along with her, and none of what she has said would have been enhanced by your seeing the screen.
Got it.
Because she does such a good job of it. But at some point in time, we do need to see the screen, and I think we're getting there.
My apologies. I'm getting there now.
Cammie, you'd think you and I had done this once before. There we go.
You would think. Thank you for letting me know that. Now I got to get back to where I had the presentation, and it is right here. No, it's not. How did it go away? We have done this before, I promise. We really do know what we're doing.
There you go.
Stop it. The good news is we're right from the beginning, so you haven't missed a thing.
Cool. Thank you, babe.
Thank you. My apologies. So let's get me out of the way up here. So as I said, section 1, now section 2, the benefits and strategies, how this whole thing works, why this is actually the win-win-win of a lifetime, to be able to help all 3 sides of the triangle of trust, as I call it, and you'll hear what that is. Section 3, there's details and documents and do's and don'ts, and how to really be able to do a transaction, what properties qualify, that sort of thing. Understanding taxes and numbers. This is Bruce's forte. He's really, really good at showing you how to take a property valued at 1.2 million and turn it into 1.6 million. So we'll talk about that as well. Now, the section 5, the stories, are the case stories that we talk about, the case studies. And we actually do them in between each section. So at the end of each section, we'll be giving you an interesting case study about different properties, different nonprofits who have received checks from Realty Gift Fund, and just give you some examples of what this looks like in the real world. And section 6 is really the meat of the matter, because once we know what charitable real estate is and kind of the concept, now let's talk about who are we going to talk to, what are we going to say, and how are we going to say it, where to find these donors, and how to get the conversation started. So the key takeaways from the training: philanthropy is a major economic force. I didn't know any of this either until about 1.5 years ago, but nonprofits are employing 10%. 1 out of every 10 people works for a nonprofit. And when you think about it, that's because universities and churches, all these are nonprofits. Gifting of non-cash assets is the most important growth sector in philanthropy. That's why we talk about Dr. Russell James a lot, and how the non-cash assets being added to how a nonprofit is getting funded is just the biggest growing sector that there is. Real estate is the largest asset class in America. Guys, the size of this opportunity exceeds $1 billion a year, and really the experts say that it can be a $28 billion a year industry, and we will explain to you why that is. The charitable giving of real estate is a powerful tool for our real estate brokers. It will give you that secret niche, that designation that no one else in your marketplace currently has. It helps your clients optimize their portfolio outcomes, use charitable strategies to fulfill broad personal goals, receive partial cash payment. There is the ability for the donor of the property to actually get cash back, and we'll talk to you about how that works. And they can take the cash value of tax deductions. This elevates your brokerage practice to the top 1%, strengthen high net worth relationships, current and new clients. One of the things Bruce and I talk about all the time is how this opens doors. It creates interesting conversations with really high net worth people that can elevate your brokerage and your nonprofit. Raise your profile socially, professionally, centers of influence, earn full commissions. The real estate agents that we work with, we pay a full commission to list and liquidate these properties. You are truly making money and making a difference at the same time. So as I said earlier, write your questions down or enter them in the chat box. We're going to be monitoring the chat as we move forward. We do promise that 90% of what's going to come up in your mind will get covered, but we're happy to stop and answer any questions. So what I'd like for you to really consider is, why are you here? What is it about charitable real estate that excites you, turns you on from your perspective as a real estate agent, as nonprofits, or any other leaders and community leaders and influencers? Is it for you? Is it for your clients? Is it for your charity or your community? And really, it is for all of the above. But we just want to kind of plant some seeds for you to consider, because when you become a charitable real estate specialist, it really sets you apart with that unique sales proposition. For your clients, you become the advisor that can help them understand how to get these tax benefits and how to leverage and leave legacy for their nonprofits. For your charity, is it that you have one charity that you are absolutely passionate about and want to bring them millions of dollars? Or is it more for your community? Like, you can see that these checks are in abundance. It's not one check and you've got to figure out which nonprofit to give it to. It's any and all of the 1.3 million and all of them that are in your community. So as we get into section number 1, what we are doing, who are the players here that we're introducing you to? The connection between philanthropy and the IRS tax code. So this is going to start getting into explaining to you why and how this has actually been around for over 100 years. Philanthropy. Now, we give this definition because over the years, I've met lots of people who didn't really believe they were a philanthropist unless they were someone like Bill Gates. But the fact is, the simple definition is a love of mankind and humanity. Generosity in all forms, the giving of time, talent, and treasure to make life better for mankind. So whether you're volunteering, whether you are building websites for nonprofit because that's your talent, or whether you are donating money, philanthropy is really a broad statement, and it simply means that you care and you take action on that caring. 501c3 is an IRS designation for qualified organizations that provide goods and services for the public good. We'll be talking about how it requires a 501c3 that is a qualified 501c3 to accept these donations. And so I didn't even know what that was in the beginning. Tax deduction. 1917, the IRS introduced the tax deduction for charitable gifts of all kinds. made to qualified organizations designated as 501c3. So when you hear us talk about how it's been around for over 100 years, that's how long this has been in play. Powerhouses for good. From that time, charitable gifting has been a substantial element of our national culture, allowing America's nonprofits to grow into economic and social powerhouses for good, and once again, employ 10% of America's workforce. So what is this whole charitable gifting of real estate thing anyway? Charitable giving of a non-cash asset to a qualified 501c3 nonprofit, which entitles the donor to claim a tax deduction against adjusted gross income and provides the nonprofit an asset it can sell to fund its social programs. That's why we gave some definitions in the beginning. Now, if the asset is appreciated, which means increased in value from the time of initial purchase, a donor also avoids the capital gains tax that would be owed were the property sold for cash. So it sounds simple enough. Property donor wants to donate property to their favorite nonprofit, their church, their veteran group, their animal group. But the problem is that it's a very complex and risky thing for them to do. And it stops these gifts from happening just dead in their tracks. The truth is that 90% of charitable giving is in the form of cash, and less than 2% of charitable giving comes from the gifts of real estate, despite the fact that real estate is the largest asset class in America. And that 2%, we're going to show you how it can be shifted to 7%, which is why we're all here. Now, this dilemma is caused by the complexity and title and financial risk inherent in a real estate gift from the day of its acceptance as a gift. It can be very complex and take those nonprofits off their task, and it can cost money. The problem has stubbornly plagued fundraisers for more than 100 years, but we have a solution, and that's what you're here to learn about. So, the solution is a specialized nonprofit that exclusively accepts gifts of real estate, provides donors the complete array of tax benefits, absorbs the title and financial risk inherent in all real estate gifts, works with the brokerage community to optimize net sale value, and grants other nonprofits the bulk of cash proceeds realized from the ultimate sale. Now that's a lot, and we are going to be addressing each one of those things moving forward. The solution needs and benefits real estate brokers. Most charitable donations must be sold and always need a broker. It's really important to know that these are not donations most of the time that the nonprofit moves into or manages. They need to be liquidated so that they get the cash. The benefit for real estate professionals is why the Real Agents of Change was created. The goal is to make you proactive versus reactive. So in steps Cami Baker, and a little bit about my history is that when I was a real estate agent, I was in the top 5%. I did HGTV twice, including House Hunters. I've strategized with all of the largest real estate companies and nonprofits. And I'm the creator of the Charitable Real Estate Specialist Certification course, which I have brainstormed a mastermind with our dear Realty Gift Fund that you'll be meeting shortly. So all that real estate experience, the networking experience, the nonprofit experience that I've had, the purpose leverage marketing, cause leverage marketing, all of this comes together to create this win-win-win for all of us, so that instead of being reactive and waiting for someone to randomly ask about donating real estate, we're becoming proactive and educating and informing and letting people know that this is a way that they can benefit their nonprofits and benefit themselves. So here's the deal. We've got some secret sauce here, Realty Gift Fund. They are the specialized nonprofit that I defined just a moment ago. And I'm going to introduce you to my dear friend, Bruce Geis, who is here to explain who Realty Gift Fund is and their part in all of this fund. Go ahead, Bruce.
Well, good morning to all of you. And I'm sorry I was a little late showing up. I did get the memo that Cammie sent out the other day saying that she's switching the website address to a different address. And I went to the old address this morning, but here I am, really happy to see all of you. I see a few of you again who I've seen before and know pretty well. So welcome again. Realty Gift Fund is a 501c3, as Cammie said, that has been founded by 4 real estate specialists, 4 real estate professionals. We've each been in the business for about 4 decades apiece. We've served as brokers, investors, our money, other people's money. We've been involved in sales, trades, leasing, you know, the whole gamut. We were all pretty much investment real estate brokers as opposed to residential real estate brokers. But we have, over the course of the years, served in the residential arena. So we have a bit of background in both. I started the business hauling concrete in a wheelbarrow 100 years ago. So I'm a builder, I'm a developer, and an HOA manager. And we are all consultants at this stage in our lives because we've accumulated a lot of experience. And along the way, kind of the most important thing is that we've all been involved in the nonprofit world. The 4 of us came together. We all, of course, love the real estate business that we're in, but we really did sort of come together because of our shared interest in the nonprofit world. We have run nonprofits, we've advised them, we've raised lots of money for them. One of our founders is an author who has written quite extensively on the charitable giving of real estate to the nonprofit world. He's very well known across the country, a speaker of some renown. And in the course of our practices, we have operated across the country, each of us independently, and developed our own little network of brokers and title companies and appraisers and what have you in the towns that we've done business in. We're very comfortable working across the country. So when we came together and created Realty Gift Fund, and you'll understand why here in a little bit, why we did it. We already had sort of the mental, intellectual platform that we needed, the infrastructure of having worked across the country and of having dealt with complex problems. And we are in a point in our lives where we really love getting up in the morning and doing what we're doing today. Cammie, can you switch me to the next screen? These are the colleagues that created Realty Gift Fund with me. We did meet. This is Jay Grab is our CEO. Chase is the author I was telling you about, Chase Magnuson. You can find, I think he's written 3 books now on the subject matter. Peter Kane lives in San Francisco. Chase lives in Houston. Jay and I are both from Santa Fe, New Mexico. And so I did want to pause and just say, along the way, we've been doing this for about 4 years. A year ago, we met Cammie. And Cammie Baker has been very instrumental in the acceleration of the growth of Realty Gift Fund. And we're going to talk more about that later. But I want you to know that Cammie Baker is an integral part of the Realty Gift Fund operation. We really rely on her. And Cammie and I, of course, do this class together. And we do it gleefully because we want everyone to share the knowledge that we have and help us with the cause. Along the way, we have supported in our short number of years together, a lot of different nonprofits with grants from the work that we have done. Here is a list of those recipients of our grants. They are across the country. It does include, by the way, Fidelity Charitable, which is the second entity on that list under donor advised funds. They are the largest public charity in America. They took in about $9 billion last year, and they have a complex assets team that will take in boats and planes and Bitcoins and partial interests in private businesses. And they don't like real estate very much, and we get a lot of business from Fidelity Charitable. But you name it, we are interested in all the social causes that are represented by the 1.3 million public charities in America. And these so far are the ones that we have been able to grant money to. Can we do the next slide there, Cami? So look, here is the reason that we created Realty Gift Fund. We're four guys who would get together either in person or on Zoom or on the telephone, and every once in a while throw a problem on the table and say, who can solve this one? Years ago, we realized that 43% of America's wealth is comprised of real estate. That percentage changes a little bit from time to time, but not too much. That's approximately what it is again today. And the orange slice of this pie, which is America's wealth, is roughly what is amounts to the cash wealth in America. So it's somewhere between 9 and 11% on a year-to-year basis, depending on who you ask and at what time you ask it. All the rest of America's wealth is the gold section off to the left. We are focused on the real estate portion and the cash portion right now, okay? If you look at total charitable giving as a separate pie, okay, you'll notice that the narrow green slice, which is financial contributions that have derived from gifts of real estate, it amounts to about 2%. And cash, which is the small part of America's wealth over on the left-hand pie, makes up the bulk of what nonprofits get in the course of any one year. Now, the double reason why this is important to us, Cami, if you hit the next slide, is that there is so much contributed to the nonprofit world every year. In 2017, for the first time, the nonprofit world hit $400 billion in total contributions. And as Cami said earlier, the nonprofit world employs 10% of America's workforce. This is a very stout part of the economy. And yet, if you compare the amount of contributions that come from real estate to the amount of real estate that comprises America's wealth, we saw a disconnect. And we said, you know, how can we solve this problem? Cami, there we go. And what would it mean if we did? So I've converted this pie chart that used to be percentages into dollars, because 2% of $400 billion is $8 billion. That is pretty steadily contributed to the nonprofit world year after year. And that's because there are a few nonprofits who have figured out how to accept a gift of real estate, and they get the lion's share of it, okay? But we said, if we can switch this percentage from 2% to just under 7% of total charitable giving, we can increase charitable giving, new money, every year by $20 billion per year, okay? $28 billion a year in contributions, which means $28 billion a year in sales, equals commissions, you know, somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.5 billion. And from the work that we have done so far, the average gift that we have received is about $540,000. That means the average sale has been, and the average commission therefore is about $32,000 per contribution. And I want to pause right here, okay? This is why we're here. Cammie mentioned earlier, we're not talking about real estate that is contributed to a nonprofit for the nonprofit's use. We're not talking about the building that the nonprofit's going to move into, or the building that the nonprofit operates programs from, like a homeless shelter or what have you. We're talking about fundraising. We're talking about nonprofits asking for gifts of real estate that can be immediately converted into cash to support the programs and to support the acquisition and maintenance of buildings that they occupy or use. So we say in the work that we do, which is what I just described, every contribution needs to be sold. Every sale needs a broker. And we operate across the country, and we need a local broker in every market. And that's the gist of what it is we're discussing this in this class today. Cammie, there we go. So that sort of sets the table for who we are, who Cammie is, how we came together a year ago. You're going to learn more about what we do and what Cammie does. Pardon me. And we do work together on two distinctly different needs in this space. But together we create a whole animal and we try to get the task done. Really happy that you all are here, and we're going to pause right now. Cammie, questions, bio breaks, things like that.
So Becky, I just want to acknowledge your question. You won't receive the slides, but I will send over a master copy of the notes, if you will. The reason that some of these words are underlined is eventually when we start doing a test, the underlined words are going to be a part of the test. And we have that on a form. It's about 40 pages long, and I will send that out. Usually at this point, we don't really have many questions yet. So let's go ahead and give them a case study, Bruce, and that'll put us right about time for a bio break.
Okay. So let's talk, I was making a list here of them because I always open up with the same darn stories every time. And Lori Lane, who's here, and Beverly's who's here, they've heard some of these stories before. So I'm going to try to twist it up and start with a different one. This one has to do with a townhome that was donated to us actually about a year ago in Broomfield, Colorado, right outside of Denver. This was a kind of a no-brainer. Any nonprofit in America who would have been offered this townhome would have been tempted to say, well, this looks easy. Sure, we'll take this. It was fairly new, built in 2007. The owner moved into it with his kids. He was a single parent, 2 kids, and after a while decided he didn't like living there. It was sort of a new, he was an older gentleman, sort of a new hip concept to be in a work-live townhome where the works, you all are pretty familiar with this concept, I'm sure, where your office or your studio or what have you is on the ground floor, and then your living space is on the 2nd and 3rd floor. And this was part of a very large development was going to have shops and commercial and open space and recreational and residential living opportunities. And he bought into it, and boom, the recession hit and everything stopped. And he decided he didn't like where he was, so he moved out. 3 years later, after he moved out, he came to us and said he'd like to make a charitable donation of this asset that had a value of about $540,000, no debt. And he said, you know, I think it's in reasonably good shape. So would you please just accept this as a charitable donation? We met a broker. We hired this broker to sell the property for us. And we thought, we're walking down the yellow brick road. So, and I think most nonprofits would have thought so as well. Turns out, 3 years of vacancy, he had turned off all the utilities, shut down the water, shut down the electric, shut down the gas. He had very sophisticated sort of modern versions of a heating system and a domestic hot water system. He had photovoltaic panels on the roof. He shut everything down, and everything started going bad from non-use. When we walked into the utility room with our inspection, we realized that we had to basically rebuild the domestic hot water and domestic heating system that were both operated side by side with water-based systems, because the water in the whole unit had just gone bad. Toilets had cracked, faucets started leaking because all of the seals had started drying out. And so, long and story short of it, $20,000 later, we had the place put back together and we put it back on the market. And within 2 weeks, we had an offer. We actually went through a couple of offers before the offer that we finally closed on stuck. But we got activity right away. We had a 30, 45-day due diligence period for our buyer, which is typical. Going to go out and get a loan, need to qualify, need an appraisal, need an inspection, what have you. Pretty standard affair. 6 days before closing, spring snowstorm in Boulder, Colorado. Tore the roof apart, created $65,000 worth of damage to the interior of the unit, 6 days before closing. So 90 days later, after our working with 2 insurance companies, a plastering contractor, framers, we had to tear the sheet, or we had to tear the plaster off of one side of the buildings, remove some of the studs that were actually holding the building up, replace the structural part of the building, the insulation, the floors, the ceilings, painting, cabinets. It was on and on and on. But 90 days later, we got it all back into shape. We convinced our buyer to hang in there with us. And the day after we got our certificate of occupancy from Boulder County, we closed on the sale of the unit, and we created $370,000, $80,000 for a nonprofit, which we wired out the next day. So that's story number 1. And it's actually, y'all, why nonprofits do not accept charitable gifts of real estate. You're going to see later that their famous phrase from the thousands of interviews that we have done with nonprofits and donors: we took a gift of real estate once and we will never do it again. Because it's stories like that that create, wreak havoc at a board meeting when they're trying to decide what their gift acceptance policies are going to be over gifts of complex assets like real estate.
I was just sharing in the notes what you just said, Bruce, that this is what stops most nonprofits from doing it. Because even if you guys with 30 years of real estate experience sit on their board, that was a lot of cash that needed to come up to make that happen. So that's...
Yeah, there's a lot of cash that needs to be spent, and nonprofits are not in a position of using their cash to accept a donation of an asset that is obviously worth more than the cash that they're going to have to put into it. So just so you know, we're real estate people. We've done this all of our lives. For us, it's kind of like a no-brainer. But we've stepped into a space where the nonprofit world, almost by its governance policies, has said, we will not do that.
All right, let's take a bio break. It is 11:48 by my clock. Let's come back at 5 minutes to 12, and we will get into section 2.
Cool, thank you. Wow.